I'm joined at this moment with those visuals playing on your screen by Mirza Faizan. He's an aerospace scientist and inventor of the ground reality information processing system. He's based in the United States. I'll be joined by other guests also. Sanat Kaul is Chairman, International Foundation for Aviation, Aerospace and Development. Air Marshal Sanjeev Kapoor, former Director General, Inspection and Safety at IAF. Captain A.D. Manik, he's a former pilot and founder of the Skyline Aviation Club. Air Commodore B.S. Siwach will join me, DG Aviation Safety in India. Sanjay Lazar will join me at some stage, aviation expert. David Birch, Associate Professor, Aerospace Engineering, University of Surrey will be with us. But my first guest that I want to go to is someone who's tracked the Boeing very carefully and looked at it. Mirza Faizan, can you explain to us what the visuals in front of our screen tell us about this horrific plane crash?
Sure, Rajdeep. Thank you so much for having me. So what I can see with this visual is that the problem is definitely with the propulsion system, because this is a controlled flight. There's no issue with the control systems, the control surfaces of an aircraft, although at the end of it, that looks like the pilot is trying to maneuver it so that they do not land on or they do not crash on a building and stuff like that. But this looks like a complete failure of both the engines from providing the enough thrust for the aircraft to take off. And this loss of thrust or the engine failure could happen due to multiple reasons, right? One reason could be, bird strike. Other reason, which does not look from this footage, by the way. Second could be foreign object and debris getting sucked into the engine. There has been a plane, Concorde, very famous Concorde crashed when the foreign object and debris got stuck in the plane. But that too is a very remote possibility.
But doesn't...
Go ahead.
But doesn't the Dreamliner have enough backups, Faizan?
No, every aircraft has backups. In fact, the aircrafts are designed on fail-safe philosophy. That's the design philosophy of an aircraft. It's called fail-safe philosophy. Even if anything fails, the aircraft is still safe. But what looks in this situation is there something might have happened, and this could be issue with the fuel system. This could be also, impurities in the fuel which might have led to.
Okay, I'm just going to stop. I'm going to stop you for a moment because we can speculate at this level. We don't know enough beyond the fact that this is very scary and doesn't happen often. David Birch, Associate Professor, Aerospace Engineering at the University of Surrey, joins us. David Birch, when you see those visuals, what's the first thing that strikes out?
Well, as has already been pointed out, it looks as though it is a problem with thrust or airspeed. The airplane is just not going fast enough. As you pointed out, it's impossible at this stage to speculate about what's gone wrong, and that's, it's a bit disingenuous. The important thing to stress is that this is a tragedy. It is an appalling loss of life. But aircraft are inherently quite safe, and that incidences like these are very, very rare. This is, in fact, I believe, the first incidence of this scope that's happened with that particular aircraft.
Mm-hmm. But David, in a sense, therefore, you're saying best not to speculate because we just don't know what happened to that aircraft. Air Commodore B.S. Siwach, your DG Aviation Safety India. You've been DG Aviation. Your first response when you see those visuals?
Thank you, Rajdeep. Very catastrophic accident with terrible loss of lives. On behalf of Aviation Safety India, I'd like to convey our heartfelt condolences. And we pray to God for the speedy recovery of those who are injured. Now, in this particular accident, the aircraft was Dreamliner 787, Boeing 787 Dreamliner. This is one of the safest aircraft in the world, most sophisticated, most modern. The aircraft had come from Delhi to Ahmedabad. It was fully serviceable. It loaded passengers. And thereafter, it took off. Till the time it took off, the aircraft was fully serviceable. The pilots in control of the aircraft were highly qualified, very accomplished professionals. And unfortunate thing which happened is that about 400 odd feet, the aircraft suffered loss of power. You see, if loss of power was only one engine, then this aircraft is capable of continue to climb without any problem and can come back and land safely. So it appears that both the engines were affected. There was loss of power. At this point of time,
But there
when there
is
was
no,
loss
from
of
what you are
power,
saying, there is no explicable reason at the moment. What you are saying, it's completely inexplicable as to what happened, and we do not wish to speculate as well. Captain A.D. Manik, you're a former pilot and founder of the Skyline Aviation Club. Your reactions when you saw those horrific visuals play out?
Yes, sir. I'm recalling the incident that happened on 16th October 1988, Indian Airlines flight. Took off from Mumbai and landing at Ahmedabad. And what happened was, the aircraft crashed and we lost 133 souls.
But that was Captain
133
Manik.
souls.
Captain Manik,
And now,
October 1988 was when the plane was landing.
yes, yes. The same incident happened at same airport. I'm reconciliation, with the two incident, and there was only two survivals. Now, what happened today, is another story which is correlating with that same story. And I'm really depressed with this situations. We've been observing aviation since last 40 years. So what I feel, as there is no speculation, but it is a situation which happened in our country is a very bad for us, all of us. And what happened will be, shortly coming through DFDR, that is digital flight data recorder, and CVR, cockpit voice recorder, which will reveal the whole fact. But whatever happened
I'm going
is
to stop. I'm going to stop all of you because at this moment, of course, whatever we do is in the realm of speculation. It will require the black box. It will require a proper investigation, which will take weeks, if not months. I just want to, on that context, since air safety will be raised, I spoke earlier to the Civil Aviation Minister, former Civil Aviation Minister Praful Patel, who was Civil Aviation Minister for a decade, and I asked him precisely that question. Does this crash and the nature of it cast any shadow over air safety standards in our country? Listen into what he had to say. Mr. Patel, your first thoughts and reactions to this terrible tragedy, sir.
Well, it's a very tragic incident, and my condolences. And actually, I'm very sad and distressed because India's aviation sector, by and large, has a very good track record. In India, we follow very good safety protocols. Let me be honest, nobody should doubt India's aviation, safety or ability. And this aircraft, a 787, is one of the most technologically advanced aircraft, a robust aircraft used by most airlines of the world, major airlines. Thousands of them are flying every day. And to have the first crash of a 787 in India is something very disturbing.
It is tragic. It is disturbing. You say that India has a very good track record. So does the 787, not so much the 737, but the 787 has a very good safety record so far. There have been questions, though, Mr. Patel, over Boeing in the past. Do you believe there's all kind of speculation? How would you approach now the inquiry? In the past, there's a sense that some of these inquiries have not yet given us clarity that is desperately needed by the civil aviation sector.
Well, let me be honest that an inquiry can reveal quite a lot. It's not that it can't reveal. And in India, we now have the Accident Investigation Bureau, which is independent of the DGC or of the ministry. And it's a completely separate institution. And that gives you a very fair assessment of what could have gone wrong and the reasons of the crash. But for that, we'll have to wait for the black box and other equipment which is on board.
One of the key initiatives of Open Skies, our skies are very safe. Because remember, Mr. Patel, just a couple of weeks ago, an Indigo flight on its way from Delhi to Srinagar, the nose blew off. Now, there were question marks over there. There have been always stories every now and then of near misses. There's even talk in this instance, unproven, of a bird hit. But you're saying broadly, you believe, even by global standards, Indian skies are very safe. What has happened is completely mysterious, therefore. And Sanat Kaul, Chairman, International Foundation for Aviation Aerospace, your first reaction?
Well, it's a very tragic incident, and it's very difficult to speculate what went wrong. It took off, it went up, and then it came down. I am not a pilot, I am not a technical person. Therefore, I would say that we should not unnecessarily speculate what went wrong. And therefore, it's necessary to be calm about it and see what went wrong by the inquiry committee which has been put together.
I take your point, but you see, that's where we are at the moment. All we can do at the moment is report what we've seen. Those visuals are all that we have. Air Marshal Sanjeev Kapoor, you're a former director, safety at IAF. I mean, is this a kind of, the closest many are giving a parallel to was 2004 when there was a double engine failure and an aircraft crashed into the Hudson. Is this something which is completely out of the blue, once in a million kind of incident that really doesn't reflect on air safety in general?
See, the visuals that I'm seeing while you're speaking, and as per the ADSB, the data which was collated and being shown on the other channels, the aircraft has gained a height of 425 feet at the edge of the runway after getting airborne. And they have calculated that it is descending at the rate of 475 feet per minute. So it means the pilots just had about 50 seconds, 50 seconds from the highest point after takeoff to impact. In this 50 seconds, if you can think what could have happened in the cockpit, he is given a mayday call to inform the ATC that there is something very serious. Now, in Air Force, we do have a lot of issues where we have to give mayday call on a single engine jet aircraft. But for a commercial airline of this size, one of the biggest aeroplanes which is flying commercially, to give a mayday call after takeoff indicates that something very serious has happened in the cockpit, which the pilot is now informing the air traffic control that this is a grave emergency, an emergency with which the safety of the aircraft and passengers is at stake. So this is the meaning of mayday call. So now he is given a mayday call and the ATC asked him again. Now this period after that, there has been no response. These few seconds after that would have gone in reviving the thrust. And as all of the co-panelists and other speakers have shown, it's a very modern aircraft. It is fly-by-wire. It has got auto throttles. It has got state-of-the-art technologies. And it has got all the sensors and warnings. And the crew is very experienced. The weather is good. It is not raining. It has absolutely no clouds. So chances of disorientation and other factors are also, minimal. So it is, very unique thing, in my opinion, that what has happened to the most powerful two engines which any aeroplane which is flying today has happened. So that in no time, and the attitude of the air.
Can I just for a moment piece together, what happened through our OSINT unit that actually looks at visual satellite imagery? Ankit Kumar brings you what I think is a very important timeline to this Ahmedabad plane crash. Just see how Ankit has pieced it together. Take a look.
Automatic dependent broadcast surveillance. It's a system that is placed in every passenger aircraft which broadcasts signals letting ATC and other aircrafts know where exactly the aircraft position is, what is the speed, what is the altitude. India today is now using the same ADSB data to analyze the final moments of Ahmedabad-London Air India flight. Using ADSB data, we can confirm that the same aircraft, the same Boeing 787 aircraft, flew from New Delhi to Ahmedabad as Air India 423. It departed around 9:50 a.m. from New Delhi and landed at Ahmedabad at 11:20 a.m. In the next picture, using the same ADSB data, we can confirm that the aircraft utilized entire 11,500 strip of the runway. ADSB data places the aircraft at the runway at 1:30 p.m. At around 1:38 p.m., the aircraft broadcasted its last ADSB data. Now, the most important picture is this. At around 1:38 p.m., when the aircraft was at 425 feet above the ground, it lost complete control. It started descending at a speed of 475 feet per meter. Now that should give you some idea why the crew or the pilot had no chance to control the aircraft. And that is why the aircraft ended up hitting this site, the BJ Medical College hostel, which is right in front of this runway, roughly 1.64 kilometers away from the airstrip. So based on publicly available ADSB data, we can confirm that the crew member, the pilots, had little to no time to control or steer this aircraft away from this crash site.
Meanwhile, of course, remember, amidst all the details we're getting, you do not forget the miracle survivor. I mean, this is quite a story. It was just mentioned there was an air crash in Ahmedabad when the plane from Mumbai, an Indian Airlines flight, was coming in 1988 October, and then out of the 135 passengers, 2 survived. Today, as of now, we know of 1 survivor, and this is clearly a miracle survivor. Almost impossible to believe that someone would have survived a crash of this nature, but the emergency exit, according to some reports, may have saved him. That's not clear yet. He claims that he was scared, he stood up and ran. Now, how he managed to emerge out of that flaming plane will remain one of the stories of our times, with all the other passengers seemingly either dead or suffering grievous injuries. Mirza Faizan, there are stories and stories then. This is one of the miracle stories of this Ahmedabad plane crash.
Yes, definitely. I mean, whenever there are plane crashes, sometimes we get miracles like this. I remember one plane crash. It was not a crash, but when in the mid-flight, in the cruise phase, the body of the skin of the aircraft was taken off, and an air hostess was sucked out, and she fell 36,000 feet to survive. So yeah, I mean, sometime when your time is not here, we survive.
And let me give details of him. Survivor seated on 11A, Vishwakarma Ramesh. He had gone with his brother to Diu. They were on a British passport. He is the lone survivor as of now of flight 171. He is at the moment recovering in the civil hospital. There's of course the condition on the ground, and that is of course very worrying because there were medical students at the medical college there who were having lunch when this happened. We are getting some visuals of that as well. Remember, this is where the plane crashed. Now, could the pilot have in any way avoided it? Very, very difficult given the kind of condition. David Birch, this is a double tragedy in a way. You've got the tragedy in the air with what happens, and then the pilot with very little control and very little time to control the plane crashes into a medical hostel. So it is, in that sense, a tragedy which will also put some question on Boeing itself. Do you believe those questions, as a professor of aerospace engineering at the University of Surrey, will have to be asked of Boeing itself?
As I said, I think it is quite dangerous to speculate at this time. The events leading to this tragedy are as yet unknown. Whether or not it was linked to the aircraft itself is as yet unknown. As we've seen and heard, this is known to be a very safe aircraft with an excellent record. So there's no evidence pointing in that direction yet.
I just want to, on that context, since air safety will be raised, I spoke earlier to the Civil Aviation Minister, former Civil Aviation Minister Praful Patel. who was civil aviation minister for a decade, and I asked him precisely that question. Does this crash and the nature of it cast any shadow over air safety standards in our country? Listen into what he had to say. Mr. Patel, your first thoughts and reactions to this terrible tragedy, sir.
Well, it's a very tragic incident, and my condolences. And actually, I'm very sad and distressed because India's aviation sector, by and large, has a very good track record. In India, we follow very good safety protocols. Let me be honest, nobody should doubt India's aviation, safety or ability. And this aircraft, a 787, is one of the most technologically advanced aircraft, a robust aircraft used by most airlines of the world, major airlines. Thousands of them are flying every day. And to have the first crash of a 787 in India is something very disturbing.
It is tragic, it is disturbing. You say that India has a very good track record. So does the 787, not so much the 737, but the 787 has a very good safety record so far. There have been questions, though, Mr. Patel, over Boeing in the past. Do you believe there's all kind of speculation? How would you approach now the inquiry? In the past, there's a sense that some of these inquiries have not yet given us clarity that is desperately needed by the civil aviation sector.
Well, let me be honest that an inquiry can reveal quite a lot. It's not that it can't reveal. And in India, we now have the Accident Investigation Bureau, which is independent of the DGC or of the ministry. And it's a completely separate institution. And that gives you a very fair assessment of what could have gone wrong and the reasons of the crash. But for that, we'll have to wait for the black box and other equipment which is on board.
One of the key initiatives of Open Skies, our skies are very safe. Because remember, Mr. Patel, just a couple of weeks ago, an Indigo flight on its way from Delhi to Srinagar, the nose blew off. Now, there were question marks over there. There have been always stories every now and then of near misses. There's even talk in this instance, complete unproven, of a bird hit. But you're saying broadly, you believe, even by global standards, Indian skies are very safe. What has happened is completely mysterious, therefore. And I just want to get quick comments from all our guests who are still with us. I want to go to Mr. Lazarus. You want to tell us, you've been on, Sanjay Lazar, you actually lost family members in that tragic air crash off Kanishka, so this must bring back horrific memories. Do you believe that India's aviation sector, though, what would you tell people? How will they restore confidence, in a sense, in passengers? Tomorrow is another day, presumably.
Yes, Rajdeep, I lost my entire family in the Kanishka bombing. The 40th anniversary is around us in 2 weeks' time. But coming to this tragic accident today, it's a very sad day, like I told you earlier on your show when I was on. Two experienced pilots, a aircraft with a perfect flying record going down like this, and 240 plus passengers, losing 240 plus passengers and crew is a dark day for Indian aviation. And, it's not about getting confidence is a second story. The first thing is, recovering today, the dead identification. That process is going to be a very painful and hurtful process for both Air India, the passengers, the families of the passengers, and their next of kin. It's traumatic. Next stage, of course, is getting people back in the air and flying. And I do believe Air India has had a very decent safety record without any, mishaps on the wide body. The 787 itself, there are over 1,200 of them in the skies. They've got over, 5 million flights and over 30 million flying hours. So I do believe it's a very safe aircraft. I do think with the safety record, people will come back to flying eventually. But today is a day for, it's a day of sadness, and it's a day of reflection.
It's a day of sadness, it's a day of reflection, it's a day to grieve with the families above all else. I want to thank all my guests who've been joining me. I'll try and come back to you. We're going to carry on with several more angles to this story, including talking to families who have suffered an unimaginable loss. There are those at London who at this time would have been waiting for their relatives to land in Gatwick. Instead, what happens is this horrific air tragedy just minutes after, even just a minute after takeoff. And of course, don't forget the MBBS students on the ground and their families also who've suffered an unimaginable tragedy. One moment you're having lunch in your hostel, the next moment, guess what? A plane, burning plane, crashes on your hostel roof. But there are two images that I want to play as we go into our next break, because one is of a former chief minister who tragically has passed away. Our thoughts and condolences to his family, and of a miracle survivor. Vishwakarma is the miracle survivor of this flight, and he is someone who, in a sense, his story will be told time and again in the hope that there will be those who will believe that there is someone up there who decided that his time had not come, and therefore he somehow managed to survive. Either way, it is truly a miracle when one person survives in an air crash where, as of now, there seem no other survivors. That's our image of the day. Vijay Rupani, former Chief Minister of Gujarat, passing away in that air crash, and Vishwakarma Ramesh, who has survived it.